let's get on with the second interesting part of this bit, which is about binding the UI kit elements like the buttons, UI controls, and everything. Because we are using at least buttons, then the text fields, text views. Then also I have the UI bar buttons. Those things can be converted into the combined versions pretty easily, but then we'll have to follow some at least we'll have to implement some protocols for that to make it work. So let's get started with that. So I have to start with, I'm going to start from the codes view controller itself, where we are having maybe from the add codes view controller, where we have a call right now on which is an IB action right now on add code, and then right now it's saving it, but then let's make it more reactive in terms of how the signal works, where I can have this chained along with the database calls, and along even values accepted through the instead of accepting it as a text, we will even make these the text fields as more reactive, where it holds the last value available within this text, and then that propagates to the other part. So even let's do that. So the changes we are going to start doing is one thing is this we are having a selected category. Like right now, if you go to this, if you choose a category, this is what is becoming a selected category right now. And right now we are holding it within a normal property, or at least a field called selected category, which is a model. And we can even convert this into, this is where we can use a current value subject, because at least we will, as soon as the subscription happens, or even it can be a regular the pass-through subject, but then I'm just going to keep it a current value subject to make it more interesting. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to modify this current value subject of category model. So as soon as this becomes, we are going to receive, it's already combined, and it needs a couple of values. One is the category model, and other one is, anyway, it needs an instantiation. So I'm gonna keep this commented out right now so that we can complete this part. Current value subject, it's going to accept a value, and because it's an nullable type, I'm just going to keep it nil itself. So I guess current value subject, is this the right name? Let me check. Current value subject accepting generic type, too many parameters, got one expected to. So again, this one is expecting a couple of parameters. I can keep it never, because again I'm not planning to have any error value being sent. So this is my current value, which is accepting a nil value initially. So one of the things which can happen here is it can hold an initial value, but in this case I'm gonna just keep it nil, the initial value, and maybe I can play around with it to show you the capabilities of current value subject. But ideally this is going to hold the last state, which you can, as soon as you subscribe, it can give you that last value, or the number of replays that you are intending to apply on it. So this is done, and some of the things I'll just keep this commented, but I will come back to this to make that change, to update the button changes and everything. And this has triggered one thing over here, which is the category selected category. It's already asking some of the things in a reactive way. I can always pass a value to this, and then that can work still, but then that's not the right way of doing it. But then to avoid these errors right now, I'm just going to keep that, but we will again modify this later. That's done. So another thing is that you can see one thing that we need to modify is this on add code should be a tab publisher right now instead of this action. We'll modify that. And the other part is even these texts should be publishers. That means you can start receiving text updated latest values through a publisher, which is going to be a text value. So for that, let's start by creating something. I'm just going to create a folder now, a new group called combine folder, where I'm going to bring in all the combine related things needed over here. And to start with, I'm going to create something called as a combine extensions class. That's created. At anyway, obviously it needs to have a couple of things, which is UIKit as well as import of combine. So this is the starting point for us, and I can start extending some of the things. First is going to be UITextField. I can extend right away, and whatever I'll be needing is a text publisher. I hope that's what I have created myself. Yep, that's a text publisher, and I'm going to accept any publisher with a string value and never erroring out. So those are the two parameters, I guess. Yes, which I will instantiate. And how can I receive this? So for this, we do already have something called as a notification center with us already. Notification center default value, and then I'm going to create a publisher using that. So I can create a publisher called for an object. Object is going to be self, which is nothing but our text field. And what is this for? That is going to be the event on which we are going to listen, so that whenever an event is received for a text field, this is going to propagate that. So what is the event that we are interested in? That is going to be UITextField dot text did change notification. So this is what we are interested to listen to, and every time that happens, we will start receiving those signals. So for that, we have created a publisher over here, and then we can start modifying some of the things. I can maybe avoid all the as soon as I do a compact map, if I had done a map, it is also going to send nil values with nil elements, which can be becoming which can also be a change which might be propagated. So I'm even avoiding that, and just whatever I'm going to propagate is going to be whatever I'm going to receive as an object. It's going to be $0.object is what will come through this. If I map it, the notification center is going to send that, and that's going to be nothing but the text field text property, I think. So I'm just, this object is going to be a text field, and all that I need to now do is to listen to the text values of. So $0.object is nothing but a text field, and I can start listening to the text values. And then compact map is nothing but transforming. This is the publisher is sending me a text field, and I can then say if it is a text field, I need the text values to be propagated, and because I have applied a compact map, it is only going to send non-nil values through this. So with this change, I can now do a call called erase to any publisher. This is one call you will have to make to convert a normal publisher to any kind of publisher. So maybe it needs a little bit more of a documentation reading to understand what an erase to any publisher is. But if you want to convert a regular publisher into any publisher, that's what you will be normally calling. So we are done with creating the text publisher for a text field. Similarly, we can also create extensions for UITextView, which also we are using. Let's say this code is part of a UITextView, which again, if you need to make it a reactive component or a text publisher, I can also do the same here. So let's say if any signal is coming through notification center, if that publisher is going to be a UITextView publisher, and if text did change notifications are coming through, then I am checking whether it is a UITextView, and I check for its text property, and then I can do the same thing. So it's more or less the same, just that these are two different controls. So I'm just having a couple of text publishers created for one for the text field and one for the text view. So this is also done. So if we go back now to the previous code, we can already start doing some stuff there. Like if I go to the add code, these are already we have already transformed these into the corresponding publisher combined version. So I can get rid of this and maybe include this along with the database.save, which is already a combined version. So whatever I'm going to do is I'm going to combine all of these signals, combines to publishers dot combine latest 3. That means I can combine up to 3 publishers together. So this is going to work like this is going to only fire, let's say only fire in the sense it's only going to send a signal only after any of these 3 have received at least one value. It is going to send those latest values together. So that's what is going to happen. So we have this author text field, which we have anyway extended already, and we have added a text publisher to that. So that is already becoming one publisher for us. Similarly, I can create for even the code TextView.text publisher, and also we already have the selected category as a publisher. So I told you that I'm not going to use this value anymore, but then I will be converting that into a publisher so that I can use it. So this is already something I can get rid of because my subscription is already created using these 3 combines, and it's this one is giving me an error because now I'm going to transform this one into something different. I'm going to use this combines dot I'm going to do a map. So that map is going to give me transformers, which is, if you can see, it is a string transformer, which is nothing but an empty. It can also be an empty text publisher value, because we already handled it using that non-empty value. So I don't think it is going to send any empty values. So that is already handled. So I'm just going to map these 3 because you can already see string and category model, which is the only one which is empty maybe. So I'm going to do this right now. I'm going to map those 3. So we already know author, content, and category. 3 values are already coming back. So I can, after that, I can always do a map. I did a map over here. So I need to do an in, and then I can do a flat map. That means because I also need to call this function again. That is a totally different observable, at least a different subscriber on which we are subscribing to. So if I have to call one subscriber within another one, I need to call a flat map so that it gives a response to this one. So if I'll be just calling a map, that is nothing but it is more of a transformational one, which converts the same observer or at least the subscriber to a different value. Let's say in this case I had combined 3 maps, and then if I had, let's say, do a filter again, this is nothing but it is transforming or it filtering on the same element, which is this observable, the combined one. And I'm also checking that $0 dot so I am passing these 3 author, so it needs to be, so I'm just passing this. So first thing, I can apply a filter because I need to check whether this category is nil or not, because the other 2 checks are already done. So all that I can do is I can always say $0 dot, this is the second element, which is the category model. I can always check if that is empty or not. So I'm just doing an empty check over here. I think .2 dot, maybe I'll have to create, I'm just going to use that filter underscore underscore and category is my element, and then maybe I will optimize it pretty soon enough, but let me handle it first. Category is so category is already saying legend, name, ID and everything. So I need to just see whether this is nil or not. So that's to check. So filter, I'm applying something like if it is not nil, so I can maybe optimize it something like this, $0 dot 2 dot 2 is not equal to nil. If that is the case, then I proceed with the next steps. So that's only when I will map it. So map, go back, this is wrong, map, that's fine. So I can do a map. Now I will receive these three transformed values. Which is dollar, we know that it is going to be author, the content and the category, which is anyway we have already done a null check on that. So I guess this is working. So we already have the author, content and category. Now we can transform it to something called as quote model, which is anyway will be consumed by this database for saving. So I can already transform that into category. No, it is quote model. So it's accepting author, it's accepting author, and then the content and the category model. So these three, it's now getting transformed. It's an optional type. I can always do because it's already checked over here to be not nil, or again I can do something like a different map over here to only send, because we already done this filter over here. I can always do another mapping over here to send this as maybe $0 $1, and maybe can do an author, category. Choose the best way. Let me just have a reference. Okay, so I was just doing the same thing. I can just maybe return author, content and category. So I can always force cast it right now. So those are the things. I can do that mapping right now and then post that I'm receiving this over here. So that's okay, returning. That's it, I guess. Then this has to be within its own map. And this is where that transformation will happen. So I can always say quote model, which I'm going to create. It's going to accept author content. So I can say $0.0, or it's easier that I can just pass these three. I think this will work. $0 $1 and $2. Yep. So that's creating that instance. Quote model. Okay, so that's the transformation which had to happen. So whatever we did now is have the combines. I did a filter to see whether category is nil or not, and then I did a map, and then force casted it because I already know it's not a nil value which gets propagated here, so I can always safely force cast it. And then I'm accepting it to create the quote model with those three values. So that's already done. Now this is going to what is going to become the input for the save function. So this is where I'm going to call a flat map, and then I can pass the parameters for flat map. One is anyway the database. So flat map is where one transformer gets converted into a one subscriber is converted to a different one over here. It's not transforming the value, but then it's going to execute another not execution, but at least the signal is getting changed from wherever it started. We are going to start with on quote. This is another signal which we will start with, but then combines is combining three signals right now, accepting three new values from these three publishers, and then we did some transformations here to finally come to the quotes model. And then if we need to make a call to the save function with to another observable, then we will have to call a flat map. Only then it's going to work. Maybe a little more understanding of the documentation will help how to use a flat map. In RX world, it was called a flat map latest as well, where if you are subscribing to another observable, then if you need to return the latest value, then you'll have to either call flat map or flat map latest. So similar is the case even here. So I'm just going to call these database dot save, and it's accepting a model. I can always say $0 because that is what the value is coming through this map. The input for this is going to be $0, and that's what is accepted over here as a model. So that transformation is already complete. So we have done with this part. Now it's the part where the sync and everything can happen, I guess. So this again can combine even here itself. So everything is going to work like this. So now you can see that it's become a chain where filter, all of these transformations and mapping and everything is happening, and finally we are making this database call to make a save, and that save response is what is going to come through. So it started with the first different observable, a combination, and ended up with the database save observable, which again sent a response back through this sync. Or you can receive an error value and a success value, similar to however it was right now. But still we are not yet there, because we have one more thing, which is the button, which we need to transform still to make it in that similar way where everything is chained end to end. And you can already see this category is giving an error because I can't set it to this. So to avoid that, again, I'm going to use the value, but again, we will revisit this and convert that as well. So that is the first bit. This again, we remove the other value part, but then this we will revisit again once we implement the other part. So this is done. So combine is done. Now let's go back and create UI tap, the button tap event itself, which